So my name is Parveen Ali, and I work at the University of Sheffield and Doncaster and Bassett Law Teaching Hospitals as Professor of Nursing and Professor of Gender-Based Violence. These are monthly sessions that we have organized for the staff at DBTH, and and because it gets shared everywhere, so anyone who can benefit it from. So basically the aims of various different sessions that we do is to build research capacity among nurses, midwife, and allied health professionals, and through these sessions we are talking about various different aspects which from my experience of teaching at master's level, PhD students, being an academic myself, and from Sarah's experience of being a librarian and what we see professionals struggle with. So while we organize these sessions for nurses, midwives, and allied health professionals, these are open to medics, these are open to anyone who is going to find any of these sessions useful. We try and keep examples as generic as possible, but please do get back to us if you have any questions, and do look up for, we can share the examples of other sessions that are going to be next month and every month, which are usually about writing for publications, writing research proposals, I forgot what it was, converting your thesis into journal article, how to choose a journal for your article or for your write-ups, how to use reference managers, and various different elements. If there is anything else that you think you would find useful, please do let us know, and we can do that. I think one of the problems which I think I have when I'm doing something, I just think it's too simple, but then I have to reflect back and think it's not, there are many people who would find this information useful. So sometimes when you're doing things day in and day out, you don't necessarily appreciate that information could be really very, very useful for other people. So please do give us any suggestions if you have. Sarah has very kindly put up a Padlet, which is asking quite a few questions about I'm just sharing the link again about yourself, what your experiences are with reference managers. Are there any specific questions that you wanted to ask or explore? Any specific aspects that you wanted to learn today? So that would really help us, and we can just take it on from there.
That's great. I'm going to share the Padlet because there's quite a lot of information going in there now. I've kind of zoomed up and down the chat, and I can see
I've just done that. Yeah,
that's lovely. That's a variety of experiences so far. Right, hang on a second and let's have a look and see what's going on the Padlet.
So do people know how Padlet works? Like all you need to do is pick up a question and just click on it and start writing. Is that how it's going to work, Sarah?
Yes, they can add a comment under each of the questions. There's the facility to add a comment. So if you will answer there, there's a hints and tips question, which I'm not expecting you to answer right up front. But as we go through the demonstration, if things occur to you, like if you already know what I'm showing you, then by all means go into the Padlet, add something that you've experienced or that you think people will find handy. And that will be really helpful. So let's have a look. What are we having?
Thanks for joining, Uzma and Aiza, and thanks for sharing it with colleagues as well. It's really good to see people from all disciplines coming in, because otherwise it just becomes like a very solo sort of endeavor.
Oh yeah. It's really better.
Everything's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
We put a prism on her glasses, so she's a bit happy with that.
Can we video her?
So what I'm going to do is mute everyone, and Sarah, you can then unmute yourself.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I don't know if she's had some
Where is she?
Right, so that's me. Okay, so there's quite a lot of experience in there, lots with RefWorks and other people curious. This is really good. Okay, thanks for that. I'm going to dip back into that in a second. Let's go. Right, back to everyone. So I'm going to do the dangerous thing and attempt some live demonstrations of a variety of different products. So I'm going to assume, to begin with, that you're all aware of the importance of citing your evidence sources and gathering those citations into a reference list for whatever purpose that you have to use it for. So that might be that you're in terms of writing for publication, you might be writing a blog, you might be writing a report, you might be gathering your sources to write a journal article and that you want it to be published. So you're going to need to capture your sources, manipulate them, make sure you can not duplicate them, arrange them, copy them, share them. There's so much functionality, but I'm going to take it really quite steady to begin with. And I'm going to look at a variety of ways that you can be more efficient and accurate in manipulating the evidence sources that you will need to use. Keep a track of what you need to cite in whatever document that you're writing, and just generally save you a massive amount of time if this is not something that you've previously tangled with, or you've had a go and it wasn't successful. So it's a what is possible. It's not like a how-to. So there is the potential for it to get a bit confusing because I'm going to dip in and out of lots of different products, but hopefully it's just to kind of open your mind to some of the functionality that's available. If you want to go into any of these products that I'm going to show you, really, you know, YouTube is your friend. I've got a list of like help guides that many universities create, and also YouTube channels for the products themselves. But that's just a starting point. It's depending on the way that you'd like to learn. Just Google for help guides on the product that catches your eye or the functionality that you want to explore. That'd probably be the most efficient way. So I'm going to show you initially collecting references using Google Scholar as my kind of vehicle at the moment, and then use that to work with various products. So I hope that makes sense. Right.
So, can I just add a few things, Sarah, while you're going on to the Google Scholar? So using Reference Manager, one of the things that we as an academic, especially when students are working on any assignment, and especially when you're working on big documents like a master's thesis or a PhD thesis, when we ask students or encourage students to use something like a reference manager, the first thing usually people say, oh, well, I'm fine, I can just copy and paste and use it like that. Of course you can, but then what happens is that these are usually very, very big documents. And sometimes you forget the right reference, like add into the bibliography or reference list that you have. Sometimes when you're citing within the text, you forget you spell the name wrong. Sometimes whatever course you're doing or whatever thing you're completing, people want you to stick to specific format for those aspects, and you don't necessarily always remember the convention that needs to go every time when you have to write somebody's name or somebody's title into the in-text citations or into the references. Sometimes you forget where the full stop needs to be there, what needs to be italicized, what needs to be kind of in full word. So there are various different issues that people face. And usually people leave 1 day or 2 days for, towards the end of when they're ready to submit, they just think, oh, well, I've just kept 2 days. And what I'll do is I'll tidy up my references. Listen to me. It doesn't work like that. It can kill you at that time. And it can be really very, very problematic. So using Reference Manager or any of the strategies by which you can capture the references in a more sort of automated function, it can be a little bit daunting to start off with. If I talk about my experience, I started using EndNote when I was doing a master's in between 2002 and 2004. And I started and left it for at least 3 or 4 times because it was clunky. It will reduce slow your computer down. There was not a lot of help. Nobody actually tells you how to do it. But once I have learned how to use it, now I don't even use a simple, easier document without using any reference software manager, because it makes your life easier. It stores everything at one time. If you're switching sources, and if you're, for example, submitting from one journal to another journal, so let's say one journal wants you to write something in Harvard referencing system, the other one is asking you to do it in Vancouver referencing system. So there are different referencing system that various journals or various sources require. And if you have to shift that, Imagine if you have got even 50 references in a document, going through each of those references and trying to convert it. It can take a hell lot of time. Whereas if you've used Reference Manager, it can probably be only take about 2 seconds, and your document can be reformatted and you're ready to go. You're never going to miss any formatting. You're never going to misspell any names, and all those sources that are there in your document are there in your reference list. Your teacher is never going to say to you, this list, this reference is not there, or that the reference, there is a reference into the reference list, but it's not in your text. And there are quite a lot of advantages for that. And I just thought to say this because I assume that you all know all this, but sometimes it's not always clear and people don't appreciate how much time it can consume if you don't use any reference managers and stuff. Of course, you can work without it, but why make your life difficult when you have got the sources? It is like saying that, well, yes, I have got a laptop and computer and I can type in that, but I would prefer a typewriter and I'm going to use a typewriter. I'm sure nobody would want to do this. So the same is with reference managers, that if they're there for you to use it. So please do learn to use it. I will shut up now and let Sarah talk.
Oh, thanks, Parveen. If you don't mind keeping an eye on any questions that get popped into chat and alert me, because I get very focused on my screen share and I won't be keeping an eye on that. So, right.
Sure. So what we are going to do is do some demonstration, talk about various bits which Sarah is going to talk about, and then we are happy to take any questions and have a discussion. In the meantime, if any question pops up into your mind, please do keep writing and we will be able to take the questions once we finish it. I'll try and see if I can set up a question thing separate so that we are not missing any questions, if that's okay. But you all listen to it.
Okay, so I'm now, the only thing that I can see is my screen. So apologies if I can't take any notice of you if you've got your hand in the air. So I'm looking at Google Scholar. I'm going to use this because I know that it's universally available. I've set up an account on Google Scholar, and this allows me to collect references in my library, which isn't a feature I used immediately, but once I've realized it was there, it's extremely handy. So I'm going to look for an article to add into my library, and I already know this exists, and I'm going to do the dangerous thing of live typing. Right, let's see, what am I going to do? Now, I thought I can't pick a subject that everyone is going to find interesting, so I'm not going to try. I'm going to pick a subject that I find interesting, because I'm beginning to carry out my own research, and I'm looking at the needs of librarians who carry out systematic searching and whether they're comfortable with the idea of sharing their search for it to be critiqued, so-called peer review of search strategies. So this is a very pertinent article, and I've got the ability to save it into my Google Scholar account. So I'm going to save that one. And it says, where do I want to save it? I want to save it into a reading list that I've already set up for peer review of search strategies. So now I've got, I'll show you this in a second, I've got a collection of articles that I want to do something with. Now, as Parveen mentioned, Google Scholar can be used just to get an idea of how to cite an article. So for this particular article, the cite option gives you the citation for that article in a variety of formatting styles. So you'll see they look reasonably similar. And I think some irritation creeps in when you look at them and think, goodness, does it really matter if the brackets are round and where the date is? Well, it matters to some people. And so then it needs to matter if you need their approval. And if you're submitting an assignment for university, if you're submitting a journal to a publisher, believe me, it matters what they think. So we're going to, I'm going to borrow this style in a minute. We'll come back to this, but I just wanted to show you that it's this quite a quick function to have a look and see how an article is cited in the various styles that you might want to use. APA is a very typical Harvard style. You'll see Harvard is pure Harvard, looks slightly different. Again, brackets, no brackets. It mind-blowingly tiny details here make the difference. But Harvard and Vancouver are the two major styles of referencing, although the citations don't look that different from each other. So I'll just get rid of that for a second. Let's see, what are we going to do? I think what I'm going to use to begin with is plain Word. Now, this might look a little bit strange, but you might want to use the endnote and footnote function within Word because it's extremely useful and a very basic way of adding kind of notes in. So if I want to insert an endnote about that particular article that I've referred to, I might want to say reference, and I've got very basic citation and note here. So a little I up there relates to the endnote here. So that's fine. That's kind of the easiest way you could do it. If you, let's get rid of that for now. I'm going to carefully go backwards. I might want to include a footnote, which is a little bit more kind of detailed, because this is where if you were putting in a report or a blog, for example, a footnote might work. So this is going to add a footnote, and this time it's numbered. Now this is maybe where I would go to Google Scholar, pick up a citation format. I'll copy the APA one, and I can plonk that citation as a footnote to that article. So it's basic, and it's very much like a stripped down Vancouver style of referencing. So you have a numbered sort of note in there, the citation, and that relates to the reference that you've got there. It's kind of basic, but it works. And it may be enough to do that, but maybe not. But we can crank it up another level by using the reference tools within Word, which are really, really, really handy. And if you've not come across this before, you'll wish you had. So I want to properly cite and reference the McGowan and Sampson article. So what I need to do is to insert a citation at this point. Now, it helpfully reminds you that the point of a citation is to credit the source of information. So you cite the details and where it comes from. So I want to add a new source. Now, what I need to do is to have the information readily available. So I'm actually going to just ping in that citation. I'm going to make sure I remember it doesn't live there. It's red, so I'm not going to kind of leave it in my document. But I want to create a citation within Word. It has a small accessible database that you can add to. I'm going to make a new citation entry for this particular article. So if it was a book chapter, then you would choose a different source type, but as it is a journal article, that's fine. I'm going to add the author. Now I already know that there's two authors there, so I'm going to use the edit option and add them one at a time. So we've got more live typing, always going to be a problem. So McGowan J is the first author, and see, because the little green "you are sharing" option is right over my hang on a second, let's try that again. We'll see what that looks like, because frankly I can't see. So M. Sampson's, it will be okay. Let's go with that. Okay. At this point I can get rid of it. So we've got McGowan and Sampson, the title. Need systematic searches. It comes from Association. I already know that it's from 2005. And the page 74, I think it's longer than that, but we'll have that as a starter. Now that's not everything, because it's not taking account of the volume in the issue, but I know that there are many more bibliographic fields that I can manipulate. So let's 4. Volume 93, issue 1. Okay, so I have added a citation. It knows I wanted it there, and there it is in lovely APA detail. So that's quite cute. Now, for my Ravello and Paynton article, I actually already do have that in my database. I'm going to look at my sources and make sure that I can, yep, there's my Ravello and Paynton article. So I'm going to, green things are right where I need them to be. Let's move that down. Right, Ravello and Paynton. It already has the McGowan and Sampson one I just added. I'm going to add Ravello and Paynton into my current list. And so here, when I want to insert a citation, I've got the options, and it's the Ravello and Paynton article I want. So this is going splendidly. I've got them in nice format. I'm going to get rid of that red detail, which is why I made it red to start with. But I want a bibliography. I do actually want to begin to build a reference list. Well, that's okay. I can choose my style. I actually want it headed references. So I pick that option. And look what it's built for me. So it's taken the citations that I've used and it's added a reference list, which is lovely. Now, supposing I didn't want APA, I was actually going to submit this eventually to a journal that required Vancouver referencing. I can just change the style here. Now I'm picking IEEE because it's the closest to a Vancouver sort, and it immediately changes it. So it's lost its nice APA citations, but it's added in numbering and it's numbered my references, which is pretty neat. It gets a bit neater. If I want to edit my paragraph and say, yeah, I don't really want to open with the McGowan and Sampson article, I think that's probably a little bit better down here. It'll think about it for a minute. And it will renumber. I can update my citations and it will switch them about. So you don't even have to worry about it keeping track of where you've put your citations within the document, which is amazing, amazing. So let's just bear with me whilst I get rid of all of this good stuff, because I've got more to do with that particular example. So bear with me, I'm doing a lot of back, because I want to have everything gone. Okay. There, we're about back to where we were. McGowan and Sampson are at the top of my article. Okay, so that is using Word Reference Manager. Google Docs has something virtually identical. You can use exactly the same kind of citation manipulation. You would add, like create a citation with data that you put in, and then it will store it and you can pull it out and use it as you need to. I mean, it's so straightforward to use. It's massively better than trying to handwrite things constantly. Back in the day when I did my dissertation, I was using index cards for my references, and I would kind of shuffle them into the right order and then laboriously type them out into my reference list at the end. And it's way, way better than that. But it's not, it's not flawless. You need to do the manual input first. You've got the possibility that errors creep in at that stage. It's extremely laborious if you've got a large number of references. And maybe that the styles that are available here, there may not be an exact match to what you need if the publisher that you're submitting to is extremely choosy, but it's, goodness me, it's better than handwriting and it's way better than DIY. So that's using Word. I'm going to show you in a minute some free reference management software to get kind of the enhanced functionality that you have with a proper reference management tool. Now if you've never used a full reference management product and you've only ever kind of DIY'd, they're so much better that you actually might want to cry when you realize what a lot of time you've wasted doing references yourself. What you're going to be able to do with a proper reference management system is to download references from where you found them and squirt them into a reference management product that doesn't involve any manual input. So you're cutting out a great deal of the potential for human error there. So you can download them from bibliographic databases, Medline, CINAHL, Embase, etc. You can download them from Google Scholar, which I will show you in a little while. And then you just import them into your product. There are some tools have you'd call it a bookmarklet. It sits on your toolbar, and if you see something interesting whilst you're browsing the web, or if you're looking in a publisher's journal and you're bringing up different articles, then you just sort of squirt the article as you look at it into your reference management software. So you don't even have to do a download upload. It's just automatically sucks the details. And I will try and demonstrate that, because those things are just a little bit delicate, but I will attempt to demonstrate doing that in a while. So they are brilliant. If you get a full license product, what you might find is that they're a little bit too over-specced in a way. There may be too much functionality there, and you'd be quite happy with a free one. So I'm going to show you a free one first. Some of the other slight disadvantages of buying or using a full license product is some of the little extra bits, as in NHS trusts, NHS IT is likely to have screwed down your access so tightly that you're not actually able to do any downloads of the plug-in bits and the additional bits. You might need IT permission to do that. But if you have a PC that you own, obviously, that you can download on, that's not a problem. I'm going to use EndNote Web as an example of a free product. But I'm going to go to Google Scholar again, and let's see if we can stop citing. Oh, dearie me, I've got too much right on where I need it to actually lose that. There, right. I promised you I would show you what was in my library, because I've just saved that particular article into my reading list. So I'm going to bring up my reading list, and it's the peer review of search strategies one that I'm most interested in. And there's an export all option, which is the one I'm going to use for this particular list of references. And you've got lots of export options. There's almost no difference between them. I'm going to pick RefMan because it will give me a file that's got the suffix .ris. It's a RIS file that all reference management software understands. It separates the detail out into the relevant fields, and the reference manager can use that file to create records within your reference manager. So I'm going to ask
Sarah, I was just going to ask, would you be able to say, how did you put these articles into my library? Because people may find it really useful.
Oh, sorry. Yes, when I found the first article, so systematic reviews, that one, there's an option to save, and then I chose peer review of search strategies. I can go back and do that again if that would be helpful. So let's see. If I go back into full Google Scholar and search for, oh, that will do. Competency framework for librarians. Okay, so this is the save option here. Now it's highlighted because I already have that one, but that's the option that you would choose. So I will just go back into my library and have a look at my peer review list. So it's created a document for me, which is a .ris file that I can save. Now it's already downloaded, so I'm going to just make sure I know where it is. It's in my downloads, so I know where to come back to. So I will come back to there to hoover it up in a minute. So I'm looking at EndNote. So I have an account with my EndNote Web. It's the free basic version of EndNote. You can Google for this. It's stripped down, it's kind of minimalist, but it does a really good job of managing references. So the first thing that I would do is import what I've just exported. So let's just double check I'm not missing anything out here. Okay, so what I would like to do is to collect references, and that means importing them. in this case. So it's saying, where do I want to import from? I'll choose my file. Now I already know that this is within my my downloads, but if I didn't, I would. There, here's my file. I've uploaded it. It's saying, what is the import option? Means roughly, where did you get it from? So I know I chose the refman option, so I will tell it that, and it just helps it process the data. And it says, where do you want to import it into? Now, I already have a group set up to house those articles. But if I didn't, I would just choose a new group and name it there and then. But I'm going to choose the folder that I want to send those into and import. So you download your references, you tell it where you want them, and then there they are. So in my group called Search Strategy Peer Review, which is of no interest to anyone else but me, but I get really excited about, I've got 7 new references. So that's pretty easy. The thing is, what can I do with that now? And that's the kind of the key thing. But there are more options within this basic EndNote that I wanted to show you. So if I wanted, for example, to pull in one more reference that I've heard of, then that's an option. And in Collect, I can actually go hunting for a specific article that I want in some surprising places. So I could use the online search option. And if I choose where I want to go searching, I already know I want to have a look in PubMed. So I'm going to have a look in PubMed. Now, I can't stress this strongly enough. This is not where you do or how you do your literature search. But if you know something is out there, it's extremely easy to get. So I'm going to go for this article. This is going to be my go-to practice article today. So I'm going to look for that article in the title, and that may be all I'll need to do. I could specify the year, I could specify all sorts of bits and bobs, but actually I'm just hunting that specific article. And it's found it. So it knows it got this one from PubMed. I'm going to, yes, that's definitely the one I want. Let's have a look and see. I can add it to a group. Well, that's really handy. I'm going to add it into my Search Strategy Peer Review group. So when I have a look now, I've got 8 articles in my Search Strategy Peer Review. So the 7 that I sucked out of Google Scholar and the one I went hunting for in PubMed, and now I have 8. So the eagle-eyed amongst you will think, well, she's put that one in twice. And yes, that is absolutely true, because I want to show you the deduplication function. Now in EndNote web, this is really basic, I'm afraid, but it kind of works. It's okay, but it's in the organize option and you find duplicates. Now I have used EndNote web for lots of things. So there's, I've got over 1,000 articles in there, and it will look across your entire set of references for duplicates. But let's just see what it does. I've asked it to find duplicates, and it's thrown up 2 articles where it's clearly, this is not from my set of Search Strategy Peer Review, but it has found 2 articles with the same title. But I know these are 2 separate articles because they're in 2 different journals. So I'm not interested in those duplicates at all. Now that is just to show you that this is not a foolproof, faultless deduplication process. It uses minimal detail to try and make suggestions, and that's really not that handy. So I'm going to have a look at Search Strategy Peer Review, where McGowan and Sampson should appear kind of several times here. So another way to do just an easy eyeball is actually to have a look for matching them by first author. You can sort them that way, and then it's relatively easy to see if you have any duplicates. And you've got 2 here. They've come in through different sources, so there are subtle differences in the way that EndNote has added them, and this is why it didn't find them. They're same titles but different journals. There's different detail. Jessie versus Jay, they look too different to EndNote for EndNote to have pulled this out as duplicates, but I know that they are, so I can get rid of the duplicate. So I'm going to get rid of this one and delete it. Okay, so it's gone and I'm back to having 7 in my wallet, if you like, in my folder. Now, in the same way that we used Word to cite sources as I went along, I can use EndNote, and I can use the free EndNote for that. The function is called Cite While You Write. Now, as I said right up front, this is not a detailed look at each individual product. I'm trying to give you a flavour of the kind of functionality that you'll get. I appreciate it could get a little bit confusing because I'm zipping about all over the place, but I wanted to kind of, if I can, infuse you into the possibilities, and then you'll go away and look up the products that you want to use. So I'm going to go back to my Word document, but before I do that, bear with me a second, because confusingly enough, I need to make sure that EndNote, fully functioned EndNote, has actually caught up with what I'm up to. So I'm going to ask full EndNote to sync. With a bit of luck, it will do that. Second, bear with me. So while that's thinking about things, I'm going to go to my Word document. And here's my example. Poor thing, it's getting a lot of hammer today. Okay, so whereas I've been using the reference bit within Word, what I would, the little plugin that comes with the free EndNote is Cite While You Write. Now, because I've actually also got fully fledged EndNote on this laptop, the kind of the freebie version isn't working today. So I'm going to use the link to my fully fledged EndNote, but the functionality is identical. And so if you have the free EndNote version, then it will look extremely similar to this. So it looks a little bit like the Word one. You're looking at basically the same thing. I'm going to choose my citation style from a massive list, and this is where you get the advantage. I'm still going to go with APA because that's what suits me right now. And I can insert citations from EndNote. And because we've automatically uploaded them, I don't have to add anything new here. So I'm going to insert a citation. And it's saying, okay, which citation? Now, funnily enough, because I was rehearsing this, it already knows I might be hunting for McGowan, and it's absolutely right. But you can put search terms in here, and it will pull up references that match till you identify the right one. Right, I want that one. It's thinking deep thoughts, and it's parked a very nice citation for McGowan and Sampson right there. So that's terrific. And now let's go pick up my Ravello and Paynton one. So I want to insert, this time I'm not interested in, right, let's get this right. That's spelling it right. So I'm hunting for that author. Yes, there it is. That's the one I want. So you can double click and it's adding in. That's really nice. Now my last one, the press checklist. Yes, I want to hunt for that one too. So I'll get a full see, oh, that's not so handy. Let's try checklist instead. So you can try a couple of different words to try and find out what you've got. Oh, fun. None of which are appearing there. Okay. I'm going to have a little look in EndNote and remind myself what I'm supposed to be hunting for. So let's have a look. The article that I'm desperately trying is, oh, it's another McGowan one, so I will look for it via the author. So that's going to be more successful. So I'll look for all my McGowan entries, and this time I can see clearly it's there. Okay, so I've got 3 different citations here. And automatically, it's assembled a reference list for me at the bottom of the page, which is lovely. And it's in APA format and it's all super duper. If I want to change the format, it is as easy as this. You just choose a different format. It thinks about it for a second, not too long, I hope. And now it's numbered the citations and it's ordered them. Now I could do the same. I could cut and paste and chop it about and mix it all up, and it would keep track of it for me. And it's really nice. So I haven't had to manually enter anything. I haven't had to do very much, to be honest, apart from hunt from the correct citation. And it's added a reference list automatically, and I can change things. If I wanted to update them, I can, and it will keep a track of what I'm doing. It really is sort of just click, 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 and you're there. Now, I briefly kind of dipped in and out of fully fledged EndNote. And so I will go back to that and show you a few things in there. But before I do that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to come back and see if I lost anyone, or if you have any questions at this point about the freebies or the Word. Oh, there's a question. Hang on a second. Let me just bring up my chat and see. Does downloading EndNote automatically link into the toolbar in Word for you? Yeah, because I've got full paid for EndNote, yes, it was automatically there. On my PC, which I'm not using today, I've got my laptop, my PC, I don't have the EndNote license. I just use EndNote Web, the freebie, which syncs to a fully paid version. They do work hand in hand, which is why I can have them on two different PCs. In that case, I had to download the plugin for the Cite While You Write element, and I needed IT permission to do that because of our trust setup. But the good news for all of my DBTH colleagues is that now I've done it, I've trailblazed, and you can also do it. If you say to IT, I want the EndNote Cite While You Write plugin, eventually they'll go, yeah, okay, because they've still got that.
And also, if you use the free version of, like, people who are not in the NHS or people who don't have a free version of EndNote, if you just Google EndNote plugin, it should take you there. All you need to do is just click it, kind of create an account and link it with your Microsoft Word, and you can have that on multiple devices. So as long as you log in with the same information, with the same email address and password, you can, like, for example, if you've got a computer at work and if you've got a computer at home, and you've finished working at work and come back and want to pick something up at home, as long as you're logged in from the same account, that usually is a one-time job, it will pick up all the current work that you've done, or anything that you saved in EndNote at your work. It should pick that up on your thing. If you are using an EndNote software, generally speaking, you can use the same copy of software in more than one devices with the same license. Again, the same thing applies, that if you're using the name, your email address, and your, it recognizes that it's you, you can have that on multiple devices. And what it will do is it will pick up your work anyway, even if it's not the same account, and let's say you're borrowing somebody else's computer, and if they have got EndNote on that, you will still be able to import functions into the EndNote library, export into the other library, send and receive file from one place to the other. So you can still do quite a lot. Is that making sense, or is it a bit too complicated for people? Just ask a question if it is, and we can try.
It is tricky, isn't it? If you're only kind of trying to have a kind of conceiving how these things might work, it is really tricky. I've got a couple more questions in chat here. Google Docs has virtually the same functionality as Word. I think what does Google Docs call it? Citations function. But yeah, it does the same thing. The number of formats is limited, which some people have picked up here. No, the Word version that I'm using, and bearing in mind this is the NHS, it may not be the most up-to-date version of Word. There is no APA 7 in the Word version I've been using. If you have a more up-to-date version of Microsoft Office, then you may well find APA 7s in there. The differences are subtle, but if you just can't get any better than APA 6, then acquaint yourself with the differences and make those tiny adjustments to your references to meet APA 7.
Or you can, when you're saving your references, you can actually, once you get a little bit more comfortable with it, you can actually kind of format within the template within the Microsoft Word or EndNote. So, you know, tiny bits that you want slightly differently, you can still use it. You can still alter like APA 6 to APA 7 or, you know, something else. I think the idea behind any of the reference managers is that it should give you all that information that you need to go back and find an article. And as long as you have all that information into one place, I know if you're submitting to psychology of violence or APA related journals, they're very picky on how it looks. If you are in many of the universities where they spend quite a lot of time in terms of looking at where the comma and where the full stop is, it's worth checking. But I think people are getting a bit more lenient, and it's usually Harvard style, which is APA, but little flexible than APA sort of thing. So it's just knowing a few idiosyncrasies around that. So Sarah, are you going to say something more about what other softwares are available?
Yeah, I definitely am. So the EndNote web that I've been using is obviously only one product. So the two other, I mean, there may be multiple, but the two others that I hear routinely discussed are Zotero and Mendeley. And these are equally well kind of functioned, free, downloadable or cloud-based reference management tools. You just Google for, I'll put them in chat in a second so that you know what you're actually hunting for. But I would say, just to follow up on Parveen's point about, you know, you need to look up and see that it's not always about reference management tools. You do kind of, let's see, I think making yourself aware of citations can really help you, and your library will be able to supply you with books to help. So certainly for DBTH colleagues, we're well supplied with kind of how to cite type books at Bassett Law and at DRI. Your universities will have them. These are kind of widely available, or you can look up on many university sites their referencing guidance, which is extremely thorough, and that really might do what you need.
And there are even sites which generate references for you, so which can format the references in the way you want. But I think that all of that is, generally speaking, too much hassle. If you learn how to use a reference manager, so for example, Zotero is a completely free software. It even looks like EndNote. It's very difficult to distinguish between those two. It looks like it functions like the same. So it's a free one, which people can use easily. Mendeley is a free one as well, Sarah, is it? I can't remember.
Mendeley is free as well, yeah. I'm just popping the details of the kind of the products that are free. I'm just sticking those in chat for people to explore at their leisure. So each of these has got a YouTube channel. Each of them has got kind of help guides. Many universities will provide guide notes to each of these free products, and some of them have you know, more functions than others, but they shouldn't, there's no cost associated with using these, and they're extremely useful. And it may well be that all you ever need is a free reference management tool, which is marvelous. Some of the big fully functioned products can be just have more functionality than you really need, and so don't think you're going to have a worse experience if you have no access to a funded product, or your university won't let students have it, or like in the NHS, there has to be a particular reason why NHS staff have access to a paid version of RefWorks, for example. If you say the magic words, I want to do a systematic review, that is a very good reason. And so all of the NHS libraries in England will be able to arrange access for you. But other than that, if you're studying and it's for assignments, that's not, the NHS can't supply reference management software in those circumstances, which is why the free products are so useful. So I hope that made a bit of sense. I don't see any more questions on what I've done so far. So I'm going to have a little more sort of a very brief demo of the paid for products that I have access to. So I'm going to bring up EndNote. Bear with me a second. Right, so this is fully fledged EndNote. Now, I haven't got the most up-to-date shiny version. My license is for EndNote 9. I believe EndNote 20 is out there now. I don't think I've missed out on 11 versions. I think I've actually just got the one before, but it's got plenty of functionality, in fact, more than you can really deal with sometimes. So let's have a look at some features of full EndNote. Now, one of the things that you can do on Google Scholar, which I haven't demonstrated yet, is export direct to EndNote, but only if you have a kind of a paid for account. So if you will just follow me for a second, I'm going to go back into Google Scholar and show you that you can do that. So I'm still looking at my reading list, but one of the options is to import into EndNote. Now, this poor article, it's been abused today, but I'm still going to use this as the example. I'm going to import into EndNote, and I'm going to cross my fingers that it works. Because when you do a direct kind of export import, of course, it's always open to go wrong. So it looks different. When I first downloaded, it gave me a RIS file that I could save, whereas this is a specific EndNote document, if you like, that EndNote will understand. So when I open that, it's going to import directly into full EndNote. Now, it's parked it here for now because it didn't know where to put it, which is very reasonable. So what I can do is just sort of pick it up and drag it where I want it. So I'm going to park it in my folder for Search Strategy Peer Review. And it's going to think deep thoughts and not do what I want it to do, which is, I'm surprised we've got an hour into a live demo and else has gone wrong.
And even if you don't have the folders like you can see on Sarah's screen, it will still work. So, you know, the all references where they've got all references in there. So as long as a reference in there, and if you're in your Word document and you just search the author's name or the title or something like that, it will pick up something for you and you can do it. But if you're doing systematic review or something similar, then it's very easy. Like, you know, when you're looking at the studies that you want to exclude, studies that you want to include, so you could actually make folders like Sarah has made on her publication registers and stuff like that, and it will allow you to see which studies you've excluded and why you've done, sort of thing.
I mean, you can, it's very easy to create a new group. You can just do that and then you can park things in it. So you could, as Pavleen says, you could have, for one particular topic, you could have a folder where all of your references go in immediately, and then a folder below that where you move them while you're considering them, and a folder below that where you put them if you're definitely going to include them. So you can do a lot of sifting. I'm going to persuade this one to move to the folder that I want. By hook or by crook.
You need to select it. Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm going to very carefully add this wretched reference in there. And we'll see if it thinks about it. Okay, so one of the things that you can do, I'm going to look at my group here. Oh,
yeah, it's there.
I've got 2 copies. I needed 2 copies so that I can show you the deduplication. Now, EndNote, full EndNote, the deduplication function in this is much, much more sophisticated and more robust. I'm not going to give it a full workout here. I'm also not going to go into the detail that you would need if you were carrying out a systematic review and you needed to deduplicate, because you'd need to put it through kind of several cycles of deduplication, looking to match multiple different fields so that you could be very sure that you hadn't got kind of stray duplicates in there. But the deduplication function within full EndNote is kind of quite impressive. So what I can do within references is find my duplicates, and it'll have a little think, and it will present them side by side, which is nice. Now, this has the advantage over the free EndNote because it has immediately recognized that these 2 articles are in fact the same. And you can decide which version you're going to keep. Let's have a little look. I'm not quite sure yet which one I'm going to keep. And in fact, they look very, very similar, so it won't actually matter. So I'm going to just for giggles, I'm going to say keep this record. So that's fine. So it's knocked off the duplicate. And now I have my 7 articles still in there. So some of the interesting bits you can do with full EndNote, I mean, you can search for things, you can add articles just the way I did with the free EndNote version. But what you can also make it do, which is quite nice, is collect PDFs of the articles so that you've got one place to go to look at the articles and decide what you're doing with them. So it's relatively straightforward to do, and you can attach PDFs. So I already have a few PDFs kind of kicking about. So let's see if I'll pull up a few and just see what I want to add. Right, so I think I've got the press statement guideline. I've also got the Lions article. Okay, so I've got an idea of what I want to add here. So for this one, I'm going to click on this and attach a file to it because I know I've got that PDF. There we go. So that's pretty simple, as you would expect. And now you've got in one place your reference and the actual PDF that you can use. So that's neat. Yep, I'm happy with that. This is good. Okay, let's see if we'll do another one. If I click on another one, for example, this one, it'll prompt me. Oh, you've made changes. Do you want to save them? Yes, I do. And then it will show me with a little paperclip symbol that it has got the PDF of that paper. So I'm going to add another one. And there it is, it's found it, that's good. Yes, I do. Now, I'm going to risk a rather slow demonstration of EndNote's ability to hunt down some PDFs if you didn't have them already. And it's this hunt for PDF symbol. So if I click on full text, it will go away and try and find freely available full text for me. So it won't breach any paywalls. It doesn't know if I have NHS Athens authentication for anything. It will just look for it and see what's freely available. So once I click that, as you imagine, it's not that fast. So we might have to come back and have a look and see if it's added any more paperclips to this particular set. But we're not going to watch it because that would be really quite tedious, I think. I don't think you'd appreciate that. Some of the things that I would like to point out, although I won't demonstrate, are I've got little shadows of people here next to some of my folders. And these are shared folders. So if you are doing group work or you're all contributing to the same paper, you can share access to folders within reference management software. And that isn't just for the paid for version. These are also present if I have a look carefully, so as not to confuse you. If I have a look into the freebie EndNote, which is available on the web, I've also got these little people next to a couple of my folders. In fact, it might be easier to demonstrate it here for you. I can manage my groups, and it's at that point that I can give people sharing access if I want to. So I can assign a group, I'll set that to be available to share. I would need to give the email addresses of the people that I intended to look at this. It's not like putting it out there for the world to look at. It's very specific. And then when a colleague logs into EndNote or signs up for a new account using the email address that I've already pre-specified, these folders will be available for them. So that's quite neat. I'm going to look back at my EndNote and see if it's managed to add any. It really hasn't. I'm going to give it another nudge because I'm impatient. It's like pressing the lift button several times when it's moving towards your floor. I figure it can't hurt and it might actually speed things up. So we've looked at paid for EndNote, which has enhancements against free EndNote. And if you also, you can tie them together so that you can use them on different pieces of equipment, if you like. Let's see, what else should I show you? The other paid for reference management software product that I also use is RefWorks, provided by ProQuest. Now that is something that universities may offer their students. It's something that Health Education England is funding for NHS staff in England if they are carrying out research. And it's quite a big if. They don't have enough licenses to let every member of staff have a go at it if they're on a course and they want to do some reference management. It isn't intended for that. So they've kindly allowed librarians to be the gatekeepers to access to RefWorks. So talk to your local librarian if you have a burning desire to use a paid for reference management product, and we will have that conversation. So I'm just going to come out of screen share for a minute and see if there's anything else in chat or if anyone else wants to ask right now. If you were disappointed that I'm not really bottoming EndNote, yeah, sorry for that. There's plenty of help out there in terms of YouTube channels for EndNote and help guides. I'm going to pop a few more of those into chat for you, so bear with me a second. So for example,
and we can give you a little demo into the Microsoft Word, kind of, once Sarah has finished, I can show you a few functions of the EndNote, just a easier one to understand, and then you can know how to take things forward.
So this particular link I'm going to put in now, if I can spell and talk, this is always a problem. It's a video that says EndNote in 6 minutes. So it's an even more whistle-stop tour than I've been giving you on using the main functionality in paid for EndNote, but that might give you a pointer or two. Let's see what else would be handy for you. Oh, I've got a really good guide that I have I've seen on Cambridge University's medical library. They do some fantastic kind of help guides, and there really is no point in me reinventing the wheel when they do such a bang-up job. So this is a link for an advanced guide EndNote for you, so you may as well have a little looky there. And what else have I got for you? Plenty. On a spirit of Cambridge University, actually, I've got their guide to the free EndNote. So let me pop that in chat for you as well. So we'll call it EndNote Web to distinguish it from full EndNote. So these are from my lovely colleagues at Cambridge University Medical Library. You've got some options there for getting in there. If you want to look at deduplication, if you are carrying out a systematic review and you need to look at layers upon layers of deduplication so that you can fill out a Prisma flowchart and end up with the right number of references at the end, then I strongly suggest you look at some of the advanced guides and see how the deduplication works, what matches with what, and how many ways you can go through that process to be confident that you've knocked out all of the deduplicates. That is something I am not demonstrating live today for you. That's not the purpose of today's session. Any questions before I dip into my last one? Okay. In that case, I'm just going to have a little nosy on the Padlet, because hopefully I've covered a few of the issues there. Okay, all looking good. Right.
While you're doing this, there is a question which somebody was asking about. Zaifullah, you were asking about the DOIs. Now, what you would find that some articles, when you're looking, and especially if the articles are not assigned to an issue. So what happens in journals? So once somebody has submitted, if the article gets accepted, they're usually put up onto the online repository. That's where you see DOI number. And when it also acts as a hyperlink. So if you click on that, it takes you to the same page where that article is. And it also is related to only online journals, so which still don't have the physical copies, and therefore not page number assigned. So DOIs are used there. Once the articles are assigned to a paper physical copy, they usually have page numbers, issue number, volume numbers, and information like that. The idea for when you're writing references is that you have provided enough information for the reader to be able to go and access an article or source that you are that you have cited or that you've used in your document or that you're talking about, to be able to get there, to be able to get to the exact same place. And many students or many people, what they do is they give the whole reference, but then at the end they also have DOI and they also provide web link. You don't need all of that. It is like when research proposal, when somebody must have said to you that, either write research question or hypothesis or objectives. You don't need all three of them. The same is true if you don't have page numbers, issue numbers, and volume numbers. Put DOI, it will take you to the same place. But if you have DOI, then just DOI and everything else, you don't need the other information. But where the article information includes page number, volume number, year number, you don't need DOI. So don't please repeat both of those things, if that makes sense to people. Does that answer your question? Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got a little more screen sharing to do. Grit your teeth, we're nearly there. Oh, hang on, I've seen another question.
What is the fee to publish systematic review article in scientific journals? I think this is for another session. But just briefly, there are journals where there is no fee for publications. There are journals which are open access journals where there is fee for publications, but there are predatory journals which will tell you that you will send us, we'll charge you £200 or something, this and that, and we will publish your article in 2 days or 3 days. No journal will publish, no scientific proper journal is going to publish your article in 2 days. That is a big no. It takes at least 6 months to go through the whole process. If anyone is telling you it's going to be published in 3 days, 2 days, 1 month, it's rubbish. It's wrong. It's not. It doesn't happen. The open access fee, where the open access articles, proper appropriate journals are charging, it could be anything between £1,100 to £1,200, which turns out to be about $2,000 or something, around $2,000 to $2,500 to $3,000. So that's that expensive. But you don't have to go for paid option if you don't have money. You could go for the other options, but we will definitely discuss this in another detail in another session.
Okay, so bear with me, and I'm going to do the last little bit there. Oh, I was just having a nosy at the Padlet, but actually what I want to show you is a part of the functionality of RefWorks, which is we call it a bookmarklet. It's actually on my toolbar here as Save to RefWorks. Now, this is just a really, really easy way, when it works, and it is not flawless, of adding a reference as you're looking at it. So say I was browsing on the Journal of the Medical Library Association. See, I told you this would suit me and suit almost nobody else, but I couldn't pick another subject that everybody would be interested in. So you have to humor me a bit. So I am very interested in the decisions and processes involved in a systematic search strategy. So I think, oh, I haven't got that one yet. What do I need to do to get that into my reference management software? And if you do have a product, I believe that Mendeley has the similar bookmarklet that you can download. They're little plugins, and sometimes they're so small that they don't alert the IT systems, and you can just sneak it onto your toolbar here, and IT don't object. So I'm going to try this and say, right, I'm really interested in that article. I'm reading it on the publisher's website. I want to save it into RefWorks. Now it thinks deep thoughts. And what it does is takes as much detail as it can find and populates an entry for you. So it's a lovely combo of automation, but you get the final say. So it knows it's a journal article, although you could tell it if it was different. It might be a report, it might be a web page or whatever, but no, it actually guessed correctly. Journal article is what it is. It knows that you found it on the web, and so it's kept a link to that article. It's got the title. It attempts to give it a tag. Now, I've not got a great deal of success with the tagging process. I don't want to hunt for my references in that way, but it makes an attempt to give it a subject tag, collects the authors as you'd expect. It knows the journal title. This is all looking really good. It's got the volume and whatever. Oh, the abstract field's blank. Now that's a pain, but it's not insurmountable, because what I can do at that point, because part of the NHS copyright license does allow me to collect abstracts in this way, I'm going to smack the abstract into this like new little entry that it's building. It's got the URL, it's got all good stuff. I'm going to save to RefWorks. So it's asking me, where do I want to save it? And do I want to import those tags from the database? Well, I found them neither use nor ornament. So I'm going to switch the tag function off, and I'm going to tell it where I want it saving. Now, if I had a folder that was all ready to go for peer review of search strategies, then I'd put it in there. But I don't. So actually, I'm going to leave it. And that not in folder is essentially a folder for things that aren't in a different folder. So I'm going to import it into my not in folder option. Now it'll think a minute. Do I want to view it in RefWorks? Well, yes, I do. So this has opened my version of RefWorks, and this is the article that it is just imported. And if I wanted to at this point, I can start to manage it. I mean, I can move it into a different folder if I want to. I've got plenty of folders down here that I could be potentially moving it into. It's got a very simple set of instructions here. And as I say, the process isn't flawless. Goodness knows what the problem was that occurred while it uploaded, but when it works, it's really, really handy. When it doesn't, it's just mildly frustrating. If I want to keep that one, I might have to just improve the detail that it's got there. So RefWorks has that additional little bit of functionality, but it has absolutely the same core bits that EndNote has, that Zotero has, that Mendeley has, that you can import from Google Scholar, from Ovid, from any of the big bibliographic databases, from Medline, from Embase, from CINAHL, and you can arrange your references, sort them, have them in folders, share them. It's all of the things that you would expect it to do, it will do. It isn't particularly special. I think if I had to choose between RefWorks and EndNote, I'd probably go with EndNote, but I am beginning to like RefWorks, and I'm playing with it more and more. So I will stop sharing at that point because there's nothing extra I wanted to show you about paid for RefWorks, if you like. I'm just going to have a look in chat, see if there's anything else. Oh, okay, so a different question. Should we always be using peer-reviewed articles instead of websites? For instance, NICE guidelines, WHO guidelines? Well, no, I don't think there is an always. It depends what your purpose is and what sources you need. You may find that you need to reference a NICE guideline, in which case you're going to structure the reference that way. You may have to do a manual input. I don't think NICE has an option to download sort of citation details. You might have to create a citation for that. So no, whatever you need to use as your source, you will be able to either neatly import or create a manual entry for what it is that you need to cite and use in your reference.
I think what you would find is when you're writing an academic piece of work is the problem is that you've given wrong examples. You've asked wrong questions, like, is the WHO or NICE guidelines? WHO and NICE guidelines are not a problem because these are reputable sources. And what is that, they've used credible information and you're going to, you can justify. But if you use kind of a random website and say, well, this is a website which I'm using instead of an academic journal, that's where the problem is. So if you're using government websites, things like WHO, UNICEF, UNFPA, things which are reputable, which are kind of, governmental agencies or other type of agencies which has got information, all of that, it's completely fine to use them. It's also like what Sarah was saying, it's in proportion. If all your sources are coming from websites, and if I am your marker, I am not going to accept that. If it's a mix and match, if there are academic journals that you have referred to, and there are sources which are WHO and others, and there are a couple of sources which are not that relevant, that's fine. But the problem arises when you've got everything from a source which is non-credible. Does that answer your question? Okay, do we need to cover anything else, Sarah? I just wanted to give a little bit of glimpse as how EndNote works into the Word document, so that people don't feel like they have not, if they were expecting that.
No, that's okay. I mean, if it's different, I used the full EndNote when I demonstrated how to do cite while you write. And I had to use the full EndNote for that because I don't have the little bookmarklet. I'm going to just stop for a sec. Sorry, Pauline, go on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put in our evaluation link right up front, right here, right now, so that you've got time to fill it in before the session ends. So please do give us your thoughts on the session. We will learn from it.
So while Sarah is doing that, can you see my screen, everyone? Yeah. So this is an article where I have used EndNote, and it's not giving me, hang on. Okay, so it's not, come on. Because the taskbar is on top of that, I can't see.
No, isn't it a pain? I haven't found a way around that yet.
So, so this is an article where I have used EndNote, and if I click on any of the references, you will see that, for instance, these ones. So when EndNote is used, your references would come like this. So they're highlighted. So if, for example, I delete something from here, it's not going to get deleted. It will come back again. Okay. So, and it will ask me, okay, fine, which the APA 6 copy is not available. So it's which are you happy to change something or like that? And it will let me change it. But what I wanted to show you that how to basically enter something. So cite while write, I don't know if you can see this. This taskbar is on top of my thing. I can't really see. Come on. Oh, I need to get out of this, I think, first. Okay, so let me share it now and hope that works. So if I was writing something here and I wanted to insert an EndNote, and funnily enough, that EndNote is not there in my.
Go higher. You've got EndNote 9, same as it's up on the top level.
It's just that I can't see my.
Yeah, it's covered in the black bar.
Yes.
Yes, it's a pain. You can drag that out of the way if you're careful.
Hang on, let me try that. How do I take this thing off?
If you kind of imagine you're pinching it between finger and thumb on the edge, and do that with your cursor and just drag it somewhere else, you should be able to move the big black bar. The one that helpfully tells you you're screen sharing, that you can't move that one.
I know, it's just oh yes, thank God for that. Okay, so here, so you can see EndNote X9 here on my thing, and the insert citation. So if I click on this, it's asking me to switch on to EndNote, which is fine. And once I have okay, here is EndNote. Come on. So yes, so that's my EndNote. So it has picked up the library that I wanted to have in there. But the things which I can do is now if I insert something in there, oh my God, it's just not happening, is it? No. So if I say, for example, there is an article which is written by Ali. So all those articles which are in my library of EndNote by Ali are already there. So let's say if I was looking for this article, I will just insert and it will come here. Okay. Now, because my format style is not appropriate, so it's asking me for this information, but otherwise it will just take you, it will just have all the information in there and it will keep your article cited. I can also do, if this is one of the papers which I've opened up and it's not locating my a sort of library. So what I could do is I could also, if I click on this convert citation and bibliography, it will convert them into normal Word sort of formatted ones. So which means that it will not have EndNote functionality, but you can have that document. If some people are asking you that we don't want you to use EndNote and you need to give it something like that, I can have update citations and bibliography. So if I click on this, it will make me updated. I can go into EndNote and I can ask for this to, if I go into the tool thing and I ask them to import traveling library, where is it? And it will import all the information which is there in that document in my EndNote library. So it will create an EndNote library for me. So if, for example, I was working at work and the library was there, I don't have it on my computer, but I have the document, it will suck up all that information and will give me a new library anyway. It might sound a little bit daunting, but your friends, when you're using EndNote or Zotero, are site value text. That's something that you need to play with, and just inserting document into it. Remember, nothing is going to break. Nothing is going to happen to your computer or to the document. If you are very, very concerned, just save it as a different document and play with the document that you're happy with, kind of something happens, but nothing is going to happen. And it's just about playing it. And today's session, we wanted you to just kind of start thinking about it. And then hopefully, once you've started using it, you'll be know how else to progress. It's persisting with it, staying with it, playing with it, and just carrying on with it. I would suggest if you don't have EndNote, try Zotero. It looks pretty much similar and it's completely free. Any questions, anyone? What I will do is I'll click on the mute all button, but then now I will allow you to unmute yourself and then you can ask any questions if you have. I'm conscious that we're nearly towards the end of time, so I appreciate if people need to go. But if any questions, let's take that. And maybe it will be a good idea to just take a photograph if you all are happy to put your cameras on. And please do give us some feedback. So you can now unmute yourself. If you have got any questions, we'll be happy to take that.
I can see Hannah's asked something in chat about whether RefWorks links with Word. And yes, there is a that you can make. You'd need to speak to IT about that one because I think it will require download access, but yes, it is possible. It has the same potential functionality as EndNote with Word.
And
Okay,
most of
lovely.
these places work, most of these reference managers talk to each other and they do kind of do it, but stick with one bit that you like and try not to switch between two of them because it just makes it easier basically. Okay, anyone has any question or any comments at all?
Would very much welcome your evaluation. If you have 2 minutes, that's all it will take you.
Thank
Please.
you very much,
And
Sarah and
if we can-
Ali. Yeah, it's a very good, valuable session. I mean, I was looking for to write on some systematic reviews in emergency medicine article, but that's why, I mean, it's very helpful. And I'll catch you, Sarah, regarding.
You will. It's a joy to see you, Farhat. I look forward to catching up with me.
It's a very wonderful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you for help.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Anyone?
and I'll catch you when I need to publish it, Dr. Ali, Paveen Ali.
Not a problem at all, anytime.
I have your email ID. I have a few articles, but still, underdeveloped. I mean, I need to write it down more.
Yes, sure, yes. So what I did, so where do you work, Farhad?
In A&E, Doncaster Royal Infirmary.
Okay, yeah. What I did this time is like specifically shared with colleagues and just to make sure, because you see, sometimes when you do, we work in silos, isn't it? Sometimes when we do for different groups, people think it may not be. If you do it for medics, nurses think it's not relevant to them. If you do it for AHPs, everybody else thinks it's not relevant for them. But these sessions are relevant for everyone. So please, if you see something and if you think it will be useful for anyone, please do ask them to join and we'll be more than happy to support. Would people be happy to put their cameras on and we can just take a photograph?
Yeah, so thank you.
And while people are doing that, any questions that anyone has at all? No? So I think you understood everything or you didn't understand anything.
There's always that danger, isn't there?
It's a matter of playing with the the softwares. Yeah, once we'll do it, then these things will come up. When we'll stuck there. I mean,
I told Sarah yesterday an example. So I submitted a journal article to quite a few years ago to one of the journals. It was from my PhD study, and I got the feedback from the editor. And what he has actually done, it was a literature review, so it had extensive references, about 50 odd references in there, big document. And what that poor fellow have done, printed that document and went through all changes he wanted me to make is into the referencing and making sure that it was in alphabetical order and then year order, because APA requires you to do it. And he went through a single page of the document and showed like this reference needs to be there with pencil. Then he scanned that document and then he sent that document back to me. So you could easily see that he must have spent at least 3 or 4 hours on that particular document. And all it needed for me to make those changes was 5 seconds. And then I made those changes, but then I was like, so what do you call it, concerned that I didn't want to embarrass him to just send the submission straight away. I just waited for another 2 weeks before submitting. So it just shows you the power. And if I hadn't used EndNote, I would have spent hours trying to switch those references and still wouldn't have taken done the same way. So that just shows you how it works. So shall we take a photograph, everyone?
Yeah, there's another comment. If we do a practice session also, we that would be beneficial, that if there is any question come up, because when we are doing it on ourselves, then we can ask questions, or we can ask personally if it is okay with you people when we are writing.
You know where I am. I think a practical session would be too difficult to arrange for a group of this size, to be honest, but I know where I am.
Thanks.
Yeah, and if you have got any suggestions, please do tell us, like, for any sessions, and we'll be able to do it. So I'm trying to find the print screen button, and if everyone smiles, hopefully it should work.
And you're going to send it to us, right?
Well, if it works. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be working.
I'll have a go. Smile.
Go on then. Oh yes, it did. It saved. Okay, thank you, everybody. Next session is about, what is it about, Sarah? I forgot. Was it choosing the journal?
No, I don't think it is.
Thesis?
What were we doing next time? Oh, that's ridiculous. I haven't got the program up. Hang on, I will look. Let's see.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah, we usually have these things at our fingertips. And a second away there. Hang on. Okay. Oh no, it is converting your thesis into a journal article in May the 19th.
Yeah, so the next session, same time, Thursday, May 19th, the same timing is converting your thesis into a journal article. So the information will be shared. If you would like to join us, please do come and join us. And please do fill up the evaluation form. Yeah, okay. So Sarah, what we could do is I can use the email list to send you the information. But again, the information would be kind of, if you're happy to be on the list, we can share the information with you about the event, but it will be on Facebook, it will be through the email list. And Sarah has, I think, put it into the Buzz and everything else as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just going to check whether it's on our webpage. Hang on a second. We put all of we wanted a place where people could go to. So what I'm hoping in our supporting research web pages.
Yeah, if we can share the link, that will be good. So you will be able to see the sessions plan for the whole year for us.
Let's see. Oh yes. Not shy about getting an opportunity to publicize our webpage. So this is the DBTH supporting research page, but anyone can have a look at it. It's not private. So have a look there. On our writing for publication pages, you'll see the details of our courses. And then obviously that will lead you on to have a look at what else is on our website and the other supporting research pages in case there's something handy.